Well, clearly things are getting out of control in America. The National Guard and Marines have been deployed to Los Angeles as an intimidation tactic. Other blue cities are being warned that they're next. The president has threatened to arrest the governor of California and the mayor of Los Angeles. The senior senator from California, Alex Padilla, was just forcibly removed from DHS press conference for attempting to ask Kristi Noem a question about what Homeland Security was even doing in California. And I should note that he was thrown to the ground and handcuffed for attempting to speak on behalf of his state. There is no other way to say this than we are looking at massive rising authoritarianism in this country, and what could be a better symbol of the move from a people's democratic republic to a strongman authoritarian dictatorship than a good old-fashioned military parade, which is what Donald Trump is having this Saturday. So to talk about what I think is an atrocity, I am joined by Senator Tammy Duckworth, retired Army National Guard, Lieutenant Colonel, combat veteran of the Iraq War, and junior senator from Illinois. I can only imagine for Senator Duckworth using the military as window dressing for this strongman persona must feel incredibly personal, and watching her colleague get thrown to the ground would be the same thing. So I really wanted to get her thoughts. Welcome, Senator Duckworth. Thank you so much for joining me. So tell me, how are you feeling about this parade?
I think it's obscene. I am disgusted by it. It is a waste of taxpayer dollars. Listen, I'm a soldier for my whole life, right? I served 23 years in the Army, and I would love to celebrate the Army's 250th birthday, but not by throwing a parade to stroke Trump's ego.
No, it's ridiculous. I mean, we can appreciate our military without this kind of spectacle. I think President Eisenhower said it best when he was asked if we have large military parades like they were doing in the Soviet Union at the time. And he said, absolutely not. Like, America is the preeminent power on earth. For us to do what the Soviets are doing, it makes us look weak. And I think the same thing.
Yeah, and if you want to celebrate the Army's birthday, then let's spend 60 million on childcare for military families. How about the 200,000 National Guardsmen and reservists who do rely on SNAP benefits to feed their family members? Let's provide them with some of the funds. It is really literally obscene at a time when Americans are going hungry, when kids are being threatened to be cut from their SNAP benefits, to throw a $60 million parade.
Yeah. I mean, the Republicans talk endlessly about cutting waste, fraud, and abuse, right? And here we are wasting millions of dollars with the military hanging around in Los Angeles. And now we're going to waste probably close to $100 million on a themed birthday party for the president. It's just so incredibly irresponsible. And as you've said, like, why isn't the money going to go towards the military? If you're celebrating the military, let it go towards the military, towards our veterans, towards childcare, towards food assistance, towards tuition. We have people who live on military bases using food subsidies, like you're saying with SNAP. We have homeless veterans who live on the street. So there are other ways to spend this money that would celebrate the military in a far different way.
Absolutely. And by the way, these troops that are in the middle of doing this parade are losing training time that could actually be working towards, should we need them for a deployment. Just last night, we announced that we were evacuating U.S. embassy personnel from our embassy in Baghdad. Our military should be preparing to protect Americans abroad, not attacking Americans on city streets or standing around to put on a parade for Donald Trump.
No, absolutely. I've spoken to many military members that are like, you don't understand how much marching goes into this, like all this practice you have to do. It's just a waste of the military's time, budget, and courage, really. I think we also saw Donald Trump and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth this week making speeches at Fort Bragg, which to me was kind of like this gross politicization of the military, which isn't supposed to be allowed. And we saw all these soldiers buying MAGA merch and cheering to destroy the president's political opponents. And I found it scary, honestly, Senator. And I think there were a lot of veterans who were really upset by the optics of that.
Very much so. The military is supposed to be separate from politics. It's one of the last institutions. Let me tell you, I'm in Congress. There was a Time magazine poll not too long ago that says people like cockroaches better than they like Congress. And like cockroaches and colonoscopies, I think had a better approval rating than Congress. So I know low approval ratings, but the United States military is one of the institutions of the United States of America that the American people value and look up to. And when you start getting them involved in politics, then you're going to degrade Americans' respect for our nation's military. And that is something that is dangerous for our democracy.
Without a doubt. I mean, we cannot pretend what's happening in LA or this parade itself. You know, physically throwing a U.S. senator out of a press conference. All of this stuff has kind of trappings of authoritarianism. And we're expecting 7,000 troops in Washington this weekend, basically going from the Lincoln Memorial to the Washington Monument. But it's not just troops, it's battle tanks and fighting vehicles and Black Hawk helicopters like you flew. And it all feels so un-American. You know, I see Trump saying, we have the greatest missiles in the world. We have the greatest submarines in the world. We're going to celebrate them. And when someone said to him, you know, like, but this is going to cost this amount of money. And he was like, $45 million. That's peanuts. And I thought, yeah, well, those peanuts are ours, bro. You know, like we're the ones paying for it.
We're the ones paying for it. And they're cutting that amount of money from school lunch programs. They're
Yeah.
cutting, right? They're cutting the amount, they're cutting Pell Grants. Imagine what we could be doing for the American people with that kind of money. If they're going to be fiscally responsible, then let's use that money somewhere else. I mean, you can just even keep it within the defense budget and let's fix up the dormitories that our troops live in. And by the way, that equipment that got shipped across the country to roll down their streets, that equipment's going to break down as part of that process. So now we're affecting military readiness, not just by misuse of the troops, but also the equipment that's going to be on parade.
Not to mention that those influx of tanks rolling through the city is going to damage the roads. And I know that the Army has said they're going to pay for those repairs, but the Army gets their money from the taxpayers. So we're going to be paying for those repairs. I mean, I think at the end of the day, previous presidents, they have avoided any overt display of military might because when you're really powerful, you don't have to tell everyone you're really powerful. And this feels like a really weak move from a man who wants everyone to think he's important and special. And I often think that Donald Trump reminds me a lot of Veruca Salt from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Like he sees something and he wants it, he demands it right away. And I know he saw that parade in France on Bastille Day in 2017, and he's wanted one ever since. And all the people that would tell him no are gone now. And so it's got to feel like just shocking to people like you who really are American heroes, who really have stood up for our military all along, to see the military used as window trappings like this.
Yeah, it's shameful. I'm just really sad because our troops deserve better than to just be toy soldiers for Donald Trump.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Thank you so much for joining us today, Senator. Thank you for fighting for us in Congress. I know it's getting wild there, Wild West style, but thank you for being here. Thank you for your service. We look forward to talking to you again.
Thanks.